You guys were on the money, especially with the Chris Weidman incident. I saw it. I thought they were legal knees from the jump.
Well, it's hard for Miragliotta. Really, here's two reasons why it's hard for Miragliotta. First of all, he's a giant. Like, you have to understand, Dan Miragliotta is like 6'5", 300 pounds. He's a huge man. I mean, he's fucking huge. Like, he towers over most of the fighters. And so he's above these guys. And if Mousasi is pinning down Weidman, so he's got him in a headlock, right? And he's pulling him down, and he's kneeing him in the face like he was. Think of how tall Miragliotta is in the first place, right? Like this. Now think he's looking down at these guys kneeing each other in the head. And he's got to stay close by in case something happens. There's no way he could see those hands from where he was standing. So he took an educated guess based on his many, many years of refereeing that both hands were down. And it was so close. You would have to be on the other side of the ring looking at the ground to know whether or not it was touching. If you're above it, the way Miragliotta was, how could he know? He really couldn't know. And it's not his fault. He's an excellent referee. No, the fault is that the Athletic Commission, under situations like this, doesn't use an instant replay. And they should, because it's the fair thing to do, to make sure that the fight it's fair. And I think Weidman could have gone on. I think had there been a question whether or not it was legal, they could look at the instant replay, and then they make the call. The strikes are legal, we're going to continue. And you either continue them from the exact same position and say, ready, go, or you have a protocol in place. Like, you have to separate them, go back to your corners, and re-engage, which is bad for Mousasi, because Mousasi had him in a good position and was landing strikes. So it's impossible for Dan Miragliotta to be absolutely certain from where he was standing, as big as he is, looking down like that. I would just imagine it probably looked like Weidman's hands were touching. When we saw it in the replay, I asked them to show me different angles.
Different angles, yes.
I'm like, because at the first they said, look, it looks like it's illegal. And then I said, I don't see his fingers. I want to see his fingers. Let me see his fingers. And then when we went to one where you see his fingers, you could see Mousasi lift him up, which is what you're supposed to do. So the only reason why Weidman had his hands down like that is because he thought that could prevent him from getting hit. He didn't have his hands down like that because it's an offensive gesture. He's not like putting his hands down there because it's a next move. You know, what he's doing is he's dealing with the fact that Mousasi has his neck. He's dealing with the fact that he's getting kneed in the head, and he's thinking the best way to stop it is to put my two hands down. Because, like, that's not a position that you would ever be in if you were trying to hurt somebody, right? So what he's trying to do is he's trying to stop the knees or figure out what to do and catch his mind, because he's been tagged a few times in this round. He got hurt, and those two knees hit him hard. And then the referee tells him it's an illegal knee, so he's like, okay, well, let me take this time to take a break. I deserve it. I got hit with an illegal knee. So in his eyes, he's doing what you're supposed to do if somebody fouls you. In his eyes, I got fouled. He doesn't know. He got hit with two fucking hard knees, right? They tell him it was illegal. He thinks it's illegal. So he goes on about it like it's illegal. So he sits down. Then the doctors come over and examine him. And then someone tells him, I believe it was John McCarthy, tells Dan Miragliotta that it was a legal knee. He's like, it was legal. I just watched the replay and he shows it to Dan. There's nothing Dan can do now. We've showed the replay over and over now to the people that were watching on pay-per-view, and we're like, they're legal. These knees are legal. This is just a mistake. And so then they don't know what to do. They don't really have a protocol in place, so they stop the fight. And they give a TKO victory to Gegard Mousasi, which is crazy, because Dan was in no way going to stop the fight right there. Like, it wasn't like Weidman was getting hit so hard. He was right about to stop it, and then they said, oh, those knees are illegal. They weren't illegal. But I was going to stop it anyway, so let's stop the fight. It's not that. No, it's the fight was going on, and it was stopped just because of a mistake by the commission, that they didn't understand. They didn't have a good protocol in place to start a fight up, and they don't have a protocol in place to check an instant replay under really, really difficult to discern violations like this, because it's really hard for me, a professional commentator who's right next to the cage. I'm right there, dude. I'm touching the floor where the cage is on, and I can't figure out if it's legal or not. I have to watch the replay. So Dan, in the heat of the moment, I mean, he's watching two of the best 185-pounders in the world, right? Gegard Mousasi's tagging Weidman. Weidman keeps taking him down. It's a fucking battle, man. It's a battle. It's a battle between two world-class fighters. And Weidman's got hard. He could have come back from that. He's taking those hard knees. Who knows what he would have done? He might have pulled guard and pulled Mousasi on top of him and got the sweep, and the round goes up. Look what just happened with Darren Elkins and that crazy comeback that he had. Did you see that fight that he had? Jesus Christ. Mirsad Bektik, who's this fucking super high-level up-and-coming guy.
This was this weekend?
No, this was like two.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, he took the beating to the death.
The beating of his life to the third round, then he knocks the guy out. And it was, the world erupted, right?
Yeah, the place went bananas.
A guy like Weidman is just like a guy like Darren Elkins. He can come back from the dead. You might stop him. I mean, Darren Elkins was stopped. Chad Mendez fucked him up. But he might fuck you up in the third round, too. So you got to give a champion like Weidman the benefit of the doubt. So the problem, I don't believe that it was Dan Mergliotta's fault. I think Dan thought he was doing the right thing, and his mindset is to protect the fighters at all time. If it's an illegal knee, he's got to step in. I just think it was so close, it was hard to tell. And then in the heat of this exchange, it's all crazy, and it's a very high-level fight, and it's super important, and it's in New York, and so when the commission didn't know what the fuck to do, that's when it became a problem. That's when almost I wish somebody was there. They're like, what I would have done, I would have said, don't stop the fight because the fight wasn't going to be stopped. Let's restart the fight from the position that it's in right there. Where you going? Oh, you need some air? So
I wouldn't have stopped the fight either.
It wasn't his decision to stop the fight. It was the commission's decision, I'm pretty sure. And I think it was just because they didn't know what else to do. I think they just didn't know, they didn't have a thing to do in place. It's hard. It takes a while to figure out how to correctly referee and judge and officiate in a state athletic commission that hasn't had mixed martial arts before, and all of a sudden they have it. So you don't have a lot of experienced referees. The referees are going to have to come from other places, guys like Big John or Dan Mergliotta. And then the commission, unfortunately, even though the referees were in place that were really high level, there's a commission that's really not used to doing this, and it's not their fault. They just don't have the experience. Nevada State has it down. California has it down. Andy Foster in California, he might be the best guy in the business.